Welcome everybody to another amazing episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile, and with me again, the busiest man on earth, I would say, or at least busier than Lotito and Tare at the moment, Alistair McKenzie. Hello, Alistair, how are you?
Yeah, good. I don't think it takes the busiest man on earth to be busier than Lotito and Terry.
Who knows? Maybe they're doing something. I'm not sure about that, but let's hope about that they are really doing something. Before starting our podcast, let me thank the two new Patreon that subscribe this week at patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Ryan Lee and Armand Kiaulekis. I hope I pronounced it well. Thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate that, and we try every time to improve our podcast. So thank you very much. It means a lot to us. Alistair, we were saying that there haven't been a lot of movements, unfortunately, since our latest podcast. Surprised?
Not surprised. A bit disappointed. Well, a little bit surprised just because it did feel like last time we spoke we were getting somewhere. But you forget how quickly things can change in the transfer market and how slowly things change for Lazio. So, 1 minute we're talking about Diego Laxalt and what a great signing he will be. And fast forward a week and it looks like we're getting a completely different left wing back instead. So, hopefully, we'll get on to talking about Durmisi, but hopefully this time it will actually transpire that the transfer goes through, because as it stands, we've got a fair few players we're managing to get out of the club, but it is about time we started seeing some deals coming in.
Yep. We said it already in the latest episode that Marchetti and Djordjevic was leaving Lazio. The goalkeeper have signed with the Genoa, and while the striker has been signed by Chievo. Yesterday or 2 days ago there was an announcement of Djordjevic. It's good. Lazio, it's not paying any more expensive salary like the one of Djordjevic. When I think about this, if you remember, already last summer Chievo was interested in the player, in Djordjevic. Do you think they wanted him last year as well, but didn't want to pay Lotito? Or do you think that things changes and this summer they was desperate for him?
Well, obviously he's free now. So as a deal for a team like Chievo, I think it is quite a good deal, because Djordjevic has become a bit of a laughingstock with Lazio fans, but there was a time, his first 6 months at the club, when he did appear to be a Serie A level striker, somebody who can score goals in the league. And I saw this week as well, interestingly, he's actually written his way into Lazio history, because he's one of only, I think it was 12 players in the history of the club who have managed to score a hat-trick in an away game, if you remember that game against Palermo. So
amazing match, yeah.
Djordjevic has he's had his moments, not loads of them, but they have been there. So I think for Chievo it's a very sensible deal, because they'll be hopeful that he can return to that level. Obviously it's not ideal that he's had a year on the sidelines. I think perhaps Lotito can be a bit too hardline at times when it comes to sales. Sometimes that's a good thing, because he can squeeze a lot of money out of deals where otherwise other presidents might give in earlier. But when it comes to players like Djordjevic, I think last summer, if you could have got 2 or 3 million euros for him, for a player who clearly had no future at the club and who was wasted away for a year, then it was probably worth just lowering your demands and getting him out the door. So yeah, I don't know if that was the case. It might have just been that the interest wasn't there. But I think for Chievo it could turn out to be a decent signing.
And to be honest, Lazio fan has been too hard on Djordjevic. As you were saying, he had a nice beginning. I thought the injury at his ankle changed completely his season. After that, we never saw the real Djordjevic again. And it happened often that an injury completely changed the player. And the fact that he got re-injured again to the same ankle obviously didn't help. So, honestly, I thought he wasn't that bad player. Obviously, if you're comparing him to Immobile, then, that's a different discussion. But he wasn't that bad before the injury. I thought that changed everything. So Chievo is getting a good player for them, I believe. You have to see if he recovers from that injury. The thing is that with the fact that you have that 25 list players that you can add in the Serie A, then you have to make a tough decision. And if you're buying Casado and you have Palombi, etc., obviously Djordjevic doesn't have that much space in the roster. You have to make a decision. A little bit like Marchetti, even though there I think that it was more a problem for Strakosha. He can feel the pressure of having Marchetti as his sub, and so maybe at the first mistake, he can feel a little bit uncomfortable with Marchetti on the bench. But yeah, it's sorry that we weren't able to sell him last year, but still he left.
Yeah, and I think that's probably his level as well. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible player. I just don't think he's a Lazio player, and I think it might suit him better to be in. With all due respect to him, I think it might suit him to be better at a club like Chievo, where the expectations are lower and perhaps their style of football could suit him better. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the one thing we're going to have to get used to the idea of is that he's bound to score against us the first time we play them next season.
That's obvious, it happens all the time with a former Lazio player. So Djordjevic won't be the exception, unfortunately. I believe he's going to score us. So we already know Lazio Chievo is already 1-0 for them. So talking about Marchetti, this is funny because he already did the medicals with Genoa, but they didn't announce him. And Preziosi, Genoa president, said in an interview that they already have the deal with the keeper and they already sold Perin. So I don't understand why they didn't announce him yet. This is bizarre.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's amazing how often this happens, though, and particularly in Italy, I find, where there are certain deals that you assume have happened, or you think everybody understands that they've gone through. Actually, Stefan de Vrij going to Inter is another one. I mean, it's taken forever, if it's even happened yet, for them to actually announce him to make it official. So it's not necessarily an unusual situation, but I think one way or another he is going out.
Yeah. Well, it's good for him to have a chance to play again. So I'm pleased he's finding another Serie A team that give him the chance to start. But and we said it already, it's unfortunately the way how he left Lazio. But let's talk about what it looks like to be the first signing for Lazio, Durmisi. Again, nothing official yet, but Di Marzio already did a profile on the player linked to Lazio, so it should be something really that should be announced in the next week or so. I hope so, and it could be a good player, right? He's fast. He's someone who is good crosser and less physical than Lukaku, but more consistent. He's someone who won't be injured all season or often like Lukaku happened. So I think it's a good option, and he can play in different positions. He can play on the 3-5-2 or even in a 4 defense. So I think it's a valid option. The biggest concern is he's played for Betis. How will he adapt to Italian football? That I don't want to say it's better or more competitive than La Liga, but it's a different, more tactical type of football.
Yeah, and I find it interesting if he does get confirmed that the first signing we make isn't a player who comes from Serie A, given the fact that Inzaghi's made it clear that he would like Serie A players to be signed, and the majority of the players we've been linked with throughout this window so far have been Italy-based players. So yeah, I mean, having had a bit of a look into him, I think all signs point to this being a pretty good signing. So the way he adapts is the one great mystery and the one possible pitfall of the move. But otherwise, he's strengthening a position that needed strengthened. The wing backs for me weren't a priority in the way that a centre back and a Vice Immobile is, but it's definitely a position I was wanting to see new options in. He's a good age, still 24, so you can presumably improve his game a bit more. Like you said, he's adaptable, can play in different areas of the pitch. So it's not breaking the bank to bring him in either. It seems like it's not going to be too expensive a deal. So I think everything seems quite positive about this one. So yeah, I think you're right to point out the question of whether he can adapt to Italian football or not is the one big unknown. But I think everything else I've seen about him, and having watched a few videos of him, he seems like a very technical player. He's got some good tricks in his locker, and he's quite a small guy, very different to Lukaku, a lot less physical, but very fast and technical as a left wing back. So yeah, I think it'd be a good move. I just really hope that it actually comes through this.
Yeah, I know. I can understand you. They're talking about something around 6.57 million euros. So again, not that much. I think it's a good price for 24 years old. He played all the season with Betis, so it has experience. He's still young and still can improve, as you were saying.
See 3 caps for Denmark as well, which is quite impressive for that age.
Yeah, and all this thing bring to a question: is Lazio trying to sell Lukaku? We heard about rumors about Premier League's team interested in Lukaku. That Lukaku could be not happy because he didn't play that much, but then he said that he had a knee injury in January and that forced him to play little in the rest of the season. So I don't know. What do you think? We said that he was in the list of the players that didn't perform as expected this season. So do you think that maybe Inzaghi and Tare are thinking about selling him if they find the right offer?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he was underwhelming this season. It was a big opportunity for him to kind of make himself one of the first names on the team sheet and improve on the promise that he'd shown before. And it didn't quite happen for him, at least not on a consistent basis. So I think at this point where he's still relatively young and has a decent reputation, it might be a good time to sell him. And if there are Premier League clubs who are interested in him, then they're going to be willing to pay a decent amount of money for him. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that does go ahead. And if he was to go out and Durmisi was to come in and that also brought in a profit, I think that would be relatively good business. Obviously, Durmisi, it's too soon to say, but with Lulic also able to play in that role as well, it seems like it could be some quite good business. Just my one concern is what I said before. It's definitely something I did want to see organised and changed this summer, but it's not the priority. I'm still baffled about the fact we haven't got a new centre back to replace De Vrij yet.
Yeah. One of the rumours we heard in the last days that West Ham could make a double offer for Lukaku and Felipe Anderson together. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Ramil Gendi, I have a question. Does anyone know Tare's number? Just to need to check if he's still alive or not. Yeah, we believe he's still alive. So we hope he's going to make some signings soon. But yeah, as Alistair said, knowing that De Vrij is leaving since January, we were all believing that Lazio would have already signed the player or start the discussion with the team to sign a new player, so that June immediately you can announce it. A little bit like what Roma's doing, right? Roma signed 3-4 players straight away. So especially when you know that you're losing a key player like De Vrij. So this is really disappointed. Not a big surprise. This happened all the season with all the summers with Lazio, to be honest. But you hope you learn from your mistakes and do things better. But it looks like Tare and Lotito choose the other way. We talked about West Ham. Let's go and discuss a little bit about the Felipe Anderson situation. Again, there have been different rumors. The first thing was that Lazio refused the first offer of West Ham. Lazio wanted 40 million euros. Then yesterday came out the rumors that Lazio accepted the offer of West Ham, that was 30 million euros plus a 20% of the next sale of the player, and that Tare was going to London today to finalize the deal. Then there have been some news from Repubblica that said no, this is not possible, because Lazio has to pay 20% of the next time they sell Felipe Anderson to Santos. So the 20% that West Ham gets pretty much goes to Santos. So they said that Lotito didn't accept the offer, and to back this up, they said that Lotito and Tare is still at Formello, so he didn't fly to London to close the deal. Alistair, we said that probably this is the best summer to sell Felipe Anderson, but you have to sell it at the right price.
Yeah, and it's one of these classic moves where Lotito's made his price pretty clear, and he doesn't seem to be budging from it. I do wonder how much longer this is going to go on for, though. It does seem to be quickly becoming the biggest kind of transfer saga of the summer. And that's a bit of a shame, because I think if we are going to sell a player like Felipe Anderson, who's obviously a key player and a big player for Lazio who's going to need replaced, then we want to actually be aware of that as soon as we can. So I think on the one hand, Lotito's right to stand by his price, but on the other hand, I think once West Ham make a reasonable offer, it's probably worth just accepting it. If the player wants to go, they're getting good value for the player, then we can actually focus on rebuilding the squad, because the longer he drags this out, if we're still here in a month's time and before we lose Anderson and we're in our Alonso, and we just don't want to end up in that situation again. So I just hope it doesn't drag out for too long.
Yeah, that's obviously a valid point. And let's remember that the transfer market will close earlier this year. So even West Ham has to hurry up, because the transfer window of Premier League is going to finish before the Premier League starts. So it should be closed earlier than the Serie A one. So let's hope that they find a deal pretty soon. Again, if you're selling Felipe Anderson, it's true that he hasn't been often in the starting 11 this season, but still he's a quality player. And one of the things that Lazio had this season was a lot of players from the bench coming in and be able to change the match. So if you're selling Felipe Anderson, you need a valid replacement.
Yeah, and I mean, just by the nature of the role he plays in, it's going to be very competitive and very expensive to find a replacement for him who's going to be of similar quality. So that does worry me a bit, because I think the actual pursuit of a Felipe Anderson replacement could take up a lot of this summer, when we should really be focusing that energy on getting a centre back and another striker. Ideally, I suppose you could use the Felipe Anderson move to find someone who's capable of playing in either of those roles as a Vice Immobile or as a number 10. But that would be that would require a very difficult and expensive negotiation to get a player of the quality that we're talking about. And if they do go for a younger player, for instance, Wesley Marias at Club Brugge has been a name that's been linked with us a lot. That's it. It wouldn't necessarily be the worst move in the world, but it's not the same. It's not an in and out situation where you can say, okay, Felipe Anderson's gone and we've brought in, a 21-year-old Brazilian who's been playing in Belgium and who no one really knows anything about. It's not a like for like, and I think if we're going to build on the success of last season, we do need to make sure that we're being ambitious in terms of who we're bringing in the market.
Yes, I agree your point, but it's even true. Let's not forget that Felipe Anderson in 5 years have shown what he's able to do and what he's not. I don't think he's gonna be like a Salah that goes to Liverpool and become the best player in the Premier League. Could happen, honestly, but even the fact that only West Ham is chasing him tells you probably the value of the player. It's not Manchester United who is spending a lot of cash everywhere. We are talking about West Ham, who nearly got relegated this season. So that's another valid point to take out. And as well, there are so many number 10 around the world available with the quality. I think it's not impossible to replace him. Obviously, if you're looking to pay only 2 million euros, then that's going to be complicated. But already Lazio had a lot of money to spend this summer. If you sell Felipe Anderson to 30 or 40 million euros, you can really reach out to Cristiano Ronaldo with all that money. It's never going to happen, but you nearly have 100 million euros to spend this summer. So it's time to spend it.
Yeah, I think they're just naturally very reserved in the market, naturally quite cautious when it comes to money. Obviously, that's been something that they've been criticised for by the fans, but I suppose we do need to make sure that when we're spending money, we're spending it for the right reasons. And I do agree that they should be cautious because we're not a club with massive budget all the time, and they might be looking at the budget we've got now as a way of spreading it out throughout a few seasons instead of just using it all in one market. But I do think if we're going to actually build on what Inzaghi's achieved so far, it is absolutely essential to make sure that he's got a bigger, more deep and more quality squad than what he had last season. And as it stands, all that's really happening is we're getting players taken out of that squad and their options are becoming even more limited. And meanwhile, some of the guys from the squads are a year older. When you look at Marco Parolo, Dusan Basta, Senad Lulic, these guys are getting on a bit at this stage. So I think the squad does need to be refreshed, and that they shouldn't be. It's time for them to break out of their cautious nature when it comes to spending money.
Yeah. Torsten Gustafsson, if there any truth in the rumors, would you welcome Wesley and Durmisi? I would. We already talked about Durmisi. We think it's a good player. It's a good value for Lazio. Wesley, it could be another good option. A player that could play with Ciro Immobile or play instead of Ciro Immobile. It's probably the type of striker we're looking for, and it could be in Lazio target. Not too expensive. We're talking about 8-10 million euros for a player that is young and could really improve and bring something to Lazio different, and finally a good replacement for Ciro Immobile. Again, it's not that well-known player that maybe fans would love to see coming to Lazio, but probably it's a smart signing. Obviously, you have to see how he performed with Lazio, but I would be happy, honestly.
Yeah, I think Durmisi, already talked about. Sounds like a good option. Wesley, I'm not quite so convinced with, but it's just really hard to say because, as usual, we don't watch the Belgian league, if we're honest. I mean, Adam Maricic came in last summer and everyone had to ask him what position he played in because nobody had a clue who he was. And Wesley's, more or less the same. He's been playing in Belgium. I mean, his goal-scoring record does slightly worry me. It's not prolific. He got 11 goals last season, which is okay. But in a weaker league, he's going to find it a lot harder to score goals in Serie A. So I do think he could be a good option, like you say, because he's young and he's unpredictable. But he is also, I don't think he can be relied upon. So I don't think it's really fair to bring him in as the Vice Mobile and expect him to step up and be ready at the same level. As soon as he arrives, I think he might be the kind of player who would need a couple of seasons or so to adapt, get used to the league and find his form. But if you look at him on YouTube, he looks amazing, but so does everyone.
Yeah, I saw even your videos on YouTube and you look a decent player. So
you saw, yeah, they were all own goals.
So, but I think he's the type. Obviously, if you are talking me, okay, Lazio gets Benzema or him, it's a different discussion. I would love to see a well-known player coming to Lazio. I'm not sure this is going to happen, even though Lazio have a lot of money now. So he's the type of player that can grow and become a new Milinkovic-Savic type of quality player. So again, there have been rumors.
So came from Belgium, don't forget. So.
Yeah. Again, there have been some discussion. There's no official, nothing official yet. So we have to see. But I believe it would be a good player, an interesting player to have and test with Lazio. So Patrick Bowman on Twitter, we don't know. We may have done deals already. The window is still not officially open. Yeah, that's what we all hope, I believe. But other teams have made already the announcement in the meanwhile, while we are still there talking about maybe, probably, rumors about. So, we would love to have announcement. Right?
I'd be amazed if as soon as the window opens, Lazio would just flood their website and social media pages with all these signing announcements that they've managed to keep secret. That would be phenomenal if that did happen.
Another player I want to talk about is Grujic. I hope I pronounce it well. There are rumors that Lazio is trying to sign the player from Liverpool. I mean, only because he comes from Liverpool. And remember, the last two players we bought from them, I'm excited. He's young. This season he finished with Cardiff, and they got promoted. He didn't pretty much play with Liverpool, but he did quite well with Cardiff. He's in the national team. There have been rumors that his price is around 6 million. Now someone is saying that Liverpool want to give him only on loan, but that would be a good player. He should be playing in the same Lucas Leiva position, so he could be his replacement, or play in the Europa League while Leiva's playing in the Serie A and things like that. Again, I think that this could be a good player if he comes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the right kind of profile. Again, it's kind of similar to Durmisi. He's a young guy who's already got international level experience for his country, been playing at a good level. Championship football isn't quite Serie A football, but it's something. And at least, like you said, they did get promoted. But yeah, it does seem to be quite a highly rated player, or at least he was when they signed him. Don't think he's been given too much of a chance with the Liverpool first team, but yeah, it's just another one. I mean, it seems like all the players we're talking about really fall into the same category, where it's really just quite unpredictable. It's too hard to say. I mean, they tick the boxes in terms of potential and playing in positions that they're needed, at least. But I think Grujic, he does seem to be the right kind of profile of player. It would be great to have an alternative to Lucas Leiva. If that's the role he fills, then that would be superb. So, and I'm sure Lucas would be able to give his opinion on what he's like as well, and if he'd be up to the task.
And maybe he can play near Lucas Leiva, replacing a little bit Parolo, that, as you were saying, is not getting any younger. So this year was, I think, the Lazio's player who ran more, but probably even of Serie A. So I don't know if he can repeat himself this season. So Lazio's looking for even that type of option. Even if there have been articles in the past couple of days talking about Murgia, it looks like Inzaghi talked to Murgia saying next one is going to be your season, so get prepared, because the belief is that he's going to have more space because, as we said, Parolo is not getting any younger, and Murgia, after 2 seasons in Serie A, is probably ready for the next step. That means becoming a starter, and especially if Milinkovic-Savic will leave, then probably there's going to be more space for Murgia to play. So that's going to be another important thing to value. We said that players like Parola are not getting any younger, but there are players like Murgia, Lombardi, Cataldi that are becoming not older, but are reaching the perfect time, their peak to start performing at high level.
Yeah, well, certainly getting to a point where you don't really believe that there's much more to come from them than what they've already shown, I suppose, which would be a shame. I think we really need Milinkovic-Savic to have a terrible World Cup. That's what I'm praying for. I think that if, with all the hype around him already, and the kind of teams that are being linked to him and the supposed interest from United, I think if he goes out there and performs well against Brazil, for example, it's only going to increase this fevered interest in him, and it'll be very hard for Lazio to keep hold of him. Whereas you never know, if he manages to disappoint everybody, then there's still a possibility. But that's another one that goes to show, if we're talking about losing Felipe Anderson in this market, talking about losing Milinkovic-Savic, we've already lost De Vrij. And, and there's no absence of rumours talking about Immobile, Alberto, Strakosha. I don't really buy into those, if I'm honest, but you're talking about the core of this team being decimated, and it's that's quite serious at that stage. We do need to be looking for like quality, and while guys like Durmisi and Grujic and so on might do a job as squad players and hopefully lift the overall depth of options available to Inzaghi, they're not big stars who you can bring in and know will do a job for you.
I think, especially if Lazio sell Milinkovic-Savic, they have to buy a big name. Talking, talented youngster that can become great players. But I think if you're selling Milinkovic-Savic, you're going to have a lot of money, and then you have to invest in a quality player, a big player, a well-known player, type of Miro Klose level, maybe a little bit younger, because otherwise the fans will be so upset. As you were saying, De Vrij is leaving, Felipe Anderson could be leaving. If you sell even Milinkovic-Savic, then pretty much Simone Inzaghi's team is gone. So you still have Luis Alberto, who has been important, but you're left with Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile at the end. So you need to get a big name to make the fans happy, because at the end of the day, that's that's what really important,
But
Yeah, go on.
so, but I was just going to say, but not only the fans. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that you have to do that not just to keep the fans happy, but to keep Inzaghi happy. Because I've said this before, but I still see no reason to think any differently. I think if there's going to be any point at which Inzaghi decides that he doesn't want to be at this club anymore, it's going to be when he's let down by Latito's lack of ambition in the market. And if Inzaghi's worked this hard with this squad to get to where he has, and he loses those three players in one summer and they're not replaced, then he's well within his rights to consider what he's doing at this club and how far he can actually hope to go with it if Latito's not going to back him in the market and if the club's not going to be able to bring in that level of player. So that's another big worry when it comes to all this for me, is that I think Simone Inzaghi is one of, if not our biggest asset, and he's not going anywhere this summer, but if there's a disappointing market, I'm worried we won't be able to keep hold of him.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Again, let's not forget there is Pedro Neto there, 25 million euros. I'm expecting to see him playing at a certain level, very maybe ready to start next season eventually, especially if we sell Milinkovic-Savic. But with all that money, we're talking about nearly 100 million euros. I expect Lazio to go big in at least two other signings. And one thing I wanted to talk today is this Acerbi situation. We said it would be a good signing. Obviously, we're not talking about the Vrij level, but we are getting a player who has the experience, who can come in and start, is a leader, and so on. He's much older than De Vrij, probably not the same level of De Vrij, but it's a good signing. But with all the money you have available, with all the needs you have this summer, this deal should have been done 1 week ago. Instead, we're still waiting for the announcement. That's really disappointing.
Yeah, it's just been the same thing over and over again so far this summer. It has been just as you think you're getting close to a player, either everything goes quiet or a new problem appears. And the Acerbi deal, I think we were both pretty happy with and sounded like a very sensible and very realistic move. So, the quicker it can happen, the better. Like all these moves, really.
It's true, as Patrick was saying before, that we don't know. Maybe the deal is already official, it's already signed, but they don't want to make the announcement for various reasons. We hope that's the case with Acerbi, but we don't know nothing. And the other thing is, Laxalt, we said it would be a great signing, etc. But since last podcast, everything has gone quiet. Is this because Lazio have changed project? Is this because Preziosi didn't accept Lotito's offer? Or it's because it's already done and, Lazio is pointing on something else?
Well, who knows? I mean, the one thing's for sure, they won't be bringing in Durmisi and Laxalt. So it does seem strange for not only that to have gone so quiet, but another deal to have come so close at the same time. So unless they were negotiating for both players at the same time and just made a call on which one they wanted to proceed with, I mean, you can only really second guess what's going on half the time. If it was down to me, I would still definitely take Laxalt over Durmisi, simply because he's got the Serie A experience and we know we'll be able to rely on him to do a job. But he's at the World Cup now, so perhaps that's also something that's put a stopper in it, because it'll be very hard to actually complete any personal agreements, certainly while he's away with Uruguay.
Yeah, that's
unless we get Cáceres to do it for us.
Yeah, who knows? Even though, it's during the World Cup, things get more complicated. And if you have a great World Cup, then it can be even worse, because, the price can go up. And instead of paying him 9 million euros, you have to offer 18, because other clubs are coming in to buy the player. So again, this type of deals, it would have been better to do them before the World Cup, because afterwards it's gonna be really complicated. Things can go wrong. Let's not forget what happened with De Vrij, right? He had a good World Cup, and then Lazio had to fight more to get the deal done. So, yeah. It looks like Lazio have found the goalkeeper, even though, again, it's not official, but it looks like there is a deal with Proto, the goalkeeper of Olympiacos. So that could be a good deal, even though in the last days it looks like Bayer Leverkusen came in and offered 30 million euros for Strakosha. Would you sell Strakosha at that price?
No, I don't think I would, because, well, for a couple of reasons, I suppose. First of all, we don't have a number 2, so we don't have anyone to step in and replace him. A number 2 is something we still need to bring in this summer. So if you sell Strakosha, no matter what the money, you're already saying that on top of all the other problems we've got, we have to bring in 2 new goalkeepers. And I don't see how that's possible for this club to do, along with everything else it needs to do in one window. You know, it's a shorter window, like you mentioned. I think it's asking too much. I think Strakosha's a young keeper. I think he can still get better. And I don't see his value depreciating at any point. So if there does come a point where he wants to leave or the club wants to sell him, then maybe it's worth considering later down the line. But at this point, I think it's worth sticking with him a bit longer and ignoring the money, because we're not short of a transfer kitty, and if we're already selling the likes of Anderson and Milinkovic-Savic in this market, we're not needing that money either.
No, that's the point. There have been a lot of rumors. Let's not forget Ciro Immobile linked to Milan. A lot of rumors of leaving Lazio. It's like, you know, if the team is rebuilding, or Lotito's needing money to keep the team, which is not, because Lazio has already a lot of money from last season to add to this season. So, you know, doesn't make that sense. Even though, you know, talking about Strakosha, I thought he had a great season. He's very young, so he still can improve. And looking in Serie A, I don't think there are a lot of players better than him. There is still Guerrieri, that at the moment is a little bit in a critical situation, because if Proto come in, then he's going to be the third goalkeeper. So, you know, I would try to give him a chance. Is he ready to start with Lazio? Well, I don't know. Maybe Simone Inzaghi knows it better. Or is it better to keep Strakosha and send Guerrieri on loan, maybe in Serie A if possible? That probably would be the best option for us. But, you know, if Inzaghi values that Strakosha is not that quality player, maybe 30 million could be a nice option. But as you said, as you mentioned, Lazio is not very fast to find replacements, so there could be the risk of arriving at the beginning of the season without a replacement for Strakosha, if you already have to find one for Felipe Anderson, one for Milinkovic, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just leaving us with too much work to do in the market when there's already quite a lot to be done as it is.
This brings me to a question that I was having in the last days. Don't you think that maybe Lazio need someone else near Iglitare to help him to finalize this transfer market? Because let's not forget that Lazio has obviously to buy players and to search, to talk and have discussion, but at the same time to sell or give on loan youngsters that come from Primavera, or players like I don't know, Filippini, Tuncarao, etc., Perea, that are not in Lazio project, are still player of Lazio. So, you know, you have to still try to monetize or give them the chance to play, so to see if they reach the level you wanted or have a good season. So maybe he's not able to do both. You know what I mean? Do you think maybe Lazio should have other players? Other members of the staff near Iglitari doing this.
That's funny. I was actually just thinking about that while we were having this discussion. It's just so much work for one guy to have that much work in a very difficult environment with a massive deadline looming over you. It's very easy to criticize, and we always do because that's what fans do. But I think you're right. I mean, I don't know what support is in place for him as it is. Presumably he can't be doing everything single-handedly. But yeah, I think there's so many big issues that we're talking about with the first team squad that when it comes to those kind of minor players and what loan to Albania is going to come next for Tunkara or whatever, I think it's so far down the pecking order that it doesn't really deserve to take up the attention of a man who really should be focusing his attentions elsewhere.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons why Pereira didn't find a team. Who knows? Or maybe because Lazio wasn't able to finalize that deal because Zare had his hand full, and so wasn't able to do everything. I honestly think another hand would be helpful for Iglitare. Obviously, it has to be someone he trusts, he knows well, and he's able to work with him. But I really think that it's missing at Lazio at the moment.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe that's a job for us.
Yeah, okay, I'm sending the CV. But yeah, a lot of question points at the moment for Lazio. On one side, Lazio sold just De Vrij, who, Lazio didn't sell. He left because he didn't renew. But there are a lot of players that look to leave. Ramiel Gandhi quoted, "Don't forget Wallace and Bastos." Yeah, there are rumors that both of them will be leaving this summer. I don't think anybody will be crying if they leave. But again, if two defenders leave, will be three with De Vrij. You need to find replacement to them. So it would be another task for Iglitare. One thing I wanted to mention is Germoni. I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago, he had a very good summer, and he was playing in the Primavera 3 years ago, and he was really good. He had the first season on loan very well, very good, positive. Last season didn't go very well. That type of player, do you give him a chance, keep him with the squad, or do you think he didn't prove to be ready for it?
Well, like you alluded to earlier, there's only 25 places in the squad, and that's pretty high competition for a team like Lazio that's, should be competing for the Champions League places. I think we really need to be aiming for a higher quality player than that. And I think all too often in the past, we've kind of settled for those kind of players when instead of going for something a bit more ambitious. And yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy he's had a couple of chances, not too many chances with the first team. But I think just in terms of raising the overall standard of the squad, is it going to do that? Not really.
Yeah, but on the other side, you have to give this youngster a chance, And when you send them on loan, you are aware that there's going to be the risk that they are not going to have the chance to do it, to prove they are worthy for various reasons. So sometimes you have to keep it on your team and give them a go. It's a risk, but probably Simone Inzaghi is the man who knows them better and can make the call on them. But I'm a little bit surprised because he had a very good season. He had a very good summer 2 years ago with Lazio. There was rumors that he could stay there and fight for a spot. Then he went on loan with Parma, if I'm not wrong. He did really, really well. Last year, he didn't have the chance to play. I think he moved to Perugia and didn't work out. But he's still considered a very talented player. I don't know. If you don't give him a chance now, then maybe it's going to be too late. You know, if he have a chance when he's 26 after 4 seasons where he didn't play that much, then it could be too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I suppose it's also weighed up as his position. I mean, he's a left back, isn't he? So it's not. I mean, if we're talking about bringing in Durmisi or Laxalt, whoever it is, and you've already got Stefan Radu on the left side of that 3-man defence, I don't know if he could go in there. You've got Lukaku, you've got Lulic. I mean, how useful is he really going to be in that squad? I mean, you've even got Patrick, who's been played on the left as well. So there is that against him, I suppose, as well, as that even if your argument does work and he's a youngster and he should be given a chance and see what he does, it's quite hard to see when he will be afforded that chance just because of the players who will be ahead of him.
Yeah, I think summer could be the right option to see if he's valid. But again, then you have to have quality, a friendly match. Obviously, it's not enough playing, against the Oronzo team because even you are going to look great against them. So it's not a valid test. So you have to try them against competitive team. So I don't know. We're going to see. Unfortunately, there's nothing done yet. There have been rumors again of Papu Gomez linked to Lazio.
Yeah, they never go away.
I think Papu Gomez is a little bit the new Yilmaz, right?
Yeah, well, it's becoming that pretty quickly. Yeah. Yes, it doesn't seem to really have much substance to it apart from this meeting between Lotito and the Atalanta president. But then there's a lot of speculation over as to whether that was actually about transfers, and if so, which player it was about, because Freuler is supposed to be of interest to Lazio as well. So, when it comes to such kind of such doubt over the meaning of a meeting that took place, I don't really want to read too much into it and just wait it out and see what happens is probably the best approach.
Yes, this is the type of rumors that come out when people doesn't know what the club is doing, and they said, yeah, Papu Gomez was linked to the club last year, so maybe they're still interested in him. I think it went like this, probably. Alistair, if you don't have any more stats, I think we can wrap it up here. The
Okay.
Djordjevic one was nice, though, I have to admit.
Got one in nice and early then.
Yeah.
Stop your complaining for the rest of the show.
Quality stats, I would say. It improved the podcast, absolutely.
I aim to please.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, for sending out your question. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook. You can subscribe on Spreaker, on iTunes, and if you want to support us, our page is patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Memberships start at $2 per month, so it's around a coffee for you. So if you like the show and want to help us, please subscribe to our Patreon page. And Alistair, we're going to talk soon, right?
Yes, I hope so.
Maybe talking about the first signing of Lazio, the first official signing of Lazio, because maybe Lazio already signed some players. Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Thank you very much, Alistair, for joining me, and have a nice week.
Cheers, you too.